Welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen. This is the digital asset sensei of Kong Tech Fu coming back to you once again to give you another episode of things you should know and or things you must know if you are here to get this generational wealth at this juncture with digital assets. And if you're here, that's exactly what you're here for. So just taking a quick look here over at my profile on Twitter, and or the app formerly known as Twitter is called X now, even though nobody likes that name. But we're doing much better on X and or Twitter than we're doing on YouTube. So I'm just going to go ahead and ask you guys to go ahead and Bruce Lee karate kick that like button and suplex the subscribe button before we get underway. And we are here to talk today about stable coins, ladies and gentlemen. And there's different types of stable coins. I'm not going to go all into, whether it's what type of stable coin it is, but I am going to tell you how it gets its yield and how you can figure out for yourself how to get yield in stable coins, to play the long game, if you will. So we've got a couple of tools to get underway because any builder must have his tool belt. So the first order of business as we gain a foundation in this new financial system, which is digital assets, we are off-ramping our fiat into the crypto space so that we are getting rid of our depreciating asset, which is fiat, and trading it in for appreciating assets, which is Bitcoin and or cryptocurrency. So we got a few tools here. And in order to off-ramp your fiat into the cryptoverse, if you will, you can go to these sites here that I myself use. I'm not going to send you any site that I myself don't use because my goal is to provide you guys safe passage through the crypto space as you learn and as you get more and more tools and as you become more resourceful. So UPHOLD is a place where you can trade anything to anything at any time. That's just one of the things that it does. I use UPHOLD every single day, and I pretty much use it as, what you might call a neo bank. No reference to the Matrix or anything, but, neo meaning new, of course. So digital exchanges like UPHOLD are basically going to be the new banks, ladies and gentlemen, because the physical banks that you walk into, I'm sure you see that they are all fading away. Very soon, you will not be walking into a physical bank. You will be using things like this, and you can even custody your money, whether it's still in USD, in the digital form USD, or whether you off-ramp it into crypto. You can actually hold your money on UPHOLD. And unlike your bank, they will not loan your money out, ladies and gentlemen. And this is part of the reason why it's so difficult to get your money, a large sum of money from the bank, because they don't have your money. They loan it out, just like the key bank, which is the Federal Reserve. That right there is a misnomer because it's not federal, it's privately owned, and they don't have any reserves because they print money out of thin air. But anyway, UPHOLD is a great tool to have. And I have a referral link for everything that I'm showing you down in the description below. It benefits you, it benefits me, and most times, we will both get something out of it when you use my link, as well as you getting safe passage through the crypto space. Next up, we have KRAKEN. Now, KRAKEN, I have been very pleasantly surprised with KRAKEN because I consciously did not use KRAKEN for quite some time, and when I finally did decide to use it, I was pleasantly surprised with the way that they operate and the things that they offer. Also, KRAKEN has what's known as a Fed Master account, meaning that they don't have to go through any intermediaries in order to settle directly with the Federal Reserve. And they are the first crypto company in order to achieve that. Next up on the list, we have Kinesis Money. Ladies and gentlemen, I have been with Kinesis pretty much ever since I've been in crypto. Okay, and it's extremely legit. You know what I'm saying? I can personally vouch for them. I've been with them at least 3 or 4 years. I've been with them so long, I can't even, it may be closer to 5 years, so, or just over four, something like that. I have to check my records. But anyway, the point is that Kinesis Money is a place for you to protect and grow your savings, as you see there. But it is giving you the ability to have tokenized gold and silver that is also redeemable, ladies and gentlemen. When you sign up for Kinesis Money, not only can you custody your tokenized gold and silver there and earn a yield on your gold and silver monthly, they also provide you a financial advisor that you can call anytime you want. And every once in a while, they will call you and check up on you. But you can also redeem your gold, your physical gold, to yourself. Let's say you have a few $1,000s worth of gold, and you want, a certain portion of physical gold in your possession. You simply ask that or require that from your financial advisor, and they will send the gold and or physical gold and silver directly to your house, ladies and gentlemen. Next up, of course, we have Caleb and Brown. Caleb and Brown is your personal crypto brokerage, ladies and gentlemen. They help clients buy, swap, and sell cryptocurrencies with 24/7 human support, ladies and gentlemen. No AI, no talking to a robot. You talk to a human being and they will get what you want done. And aside from that, I also custody some of my crypto assets within Caleb and Brown because I know it is safe and I know my assets are insured, ladies and gentlemen. So these are some of the things that you're going to need in order to get underway. And these things are part of your tool belt, ladies and gentlemen. Link for all of these things is down in the description below. Also, Orange Gateway, ladies and gentlemen. Orange Gateway is the perfect place to find one asset that is pretty much trying to be gate kept, which of course is the original Bitcoin protocol. Okay, Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision, BSV, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the gateway between Bitcoin and fiat. And when we say Bitcoin, we mean exactly that. Because you may or may not know, if you've been on this channel, you know what I'm about to say. And to make a long story less long, in 2017, Greg Maxwell created a coin that and passed it off as Bitcoin. You all know it as BTC, which is about $76,000-$80,000 right now. And they are telling the world that BTC is Bitcoin, and it is not. And I have many ways of proving that because we don't have any speculation or conjecture here. Everything that we say is actual, factual, and verifiable. So I can give you the story some other time. But basically, I have several people that have come to me because, BSB has been delisted, you know, uh, ever since, they've been trying to gatekeep this thing because you see, the whole story is that the banks cannot control, the government cannot control Bitcoin. So therefore, they got behind Greg Maxwell and Jack Dorsey, who sold Twitter to Elon Musk, to create a uh, a coin, a modified version of Bitcoin, and destroy the original knowledge of the original Bitcoin, and then tell the world that BTC is Bitcoin. Okay, it does not have the Genesis block. It does not have a chain of signatures. It does not have, it's a gigantic Ponzi scheme, if you will. And the funny thing about it is, it's like you have so many Bitcoin maxis out there, and most of them don't have any Bitcoin. as ironic as that seems. However, Orange Gateway is the place that you can go to get your BSV if you so chose to. All right, now let's get underway, ladies and gentlemen. Now that all the preliminaries are out of the way, another tool that you're going to need in your daily speculation and thinking about what you're going to do and how you're going to upgrade your portfolio, is to use DeFi Llama. DeFi Llama is a wonderful place for you to be able to get the information that you need in order to access, your plan of attack. Okay. And you could even go down here and you can even do some, swapping in here as well. But like I said, we are here to talk about stable coins today. You can go in here, you can find out where the yields are. You can go in here, you can find out, what each chain is doing individually, as you can see over here. In decentralized finance, also known as DeFi, we have 52.4% of all the liquidity in Ethereum. Okay. And then, of course, you got a little schematic here of everything. Because in order to make money in cryptocurrency, whether you're doing it from a CFI perspective or a DeFi perspective, you have to go where the money is. Okay. And then, of course, you got some tools here. You've got some metrics and all of that. But RWA, of course, which is real world assets. They got $27.2 billion in real world assets, ladies and gentlemen. But we are here today to talk about stablecoins. Now, I'm not going to sit here and go through every stablecoin because, as you can see, there are many. And there will be many, many, many more. Because all of these institutions, whether it's Western Union, whether it's whatever, credit unions, all of these places are going to start to issue their own stablecoin. So the title of this video is Stablecoins, No Risk, All Gain. Because the one thing you should know about stablecoins, ladies and gentlemen, is when you seek to get yield from a stablecoin, there's absolutely no risk, or the way we say it in DeFi is no impermanent loss. Meaning you can't lose money when you're seeking to get yield from a stablecoin. All right. And that's why the APRs are so low, because the less risk, the less reward. The more risk, the more reward. There's no volatility in stablecoins. You see what I'm saying? Because a stablecoin is always $1. It is always pegged to the dollar. So you should also understand what a stablecoin is basically. Because, America is the world reserve currency right now, starting in 1913, giving us the fiat system. It's basically a system of debt, ladies and gentlemen, especially since we went off the gold standard in 1971. So basically, cryptocurrency and or the new financial system, especially stable coins, are basically the new representation of the American dollar, thus making it available to people all around the world that never had access to the American dollar, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about third world countries and, very, rural areas, things of that nature. So these people now have access to stable coins and or the American dollar worldwide. Okay. So essentially, what is a stable coin, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we know it's a digital dollar, but what is the makeup? Just like every coin you hold in your hand has two sides, it has heads and it has tails. Well, conceptually, with a stable coin, in order for a company or an issuer to issue stable coins, they have to buy debt from the American government in order to issue that, in order to peg it 1-to-1 with the dollar. But when they issue that stable coin, what they do is, let's take Tether down here, number one. Okay. Tether, of course, is a stable coin, but like I said, there's heads and there's tails. What they do is they issue the stable coin, they sell me and you the stable coin, which is the principal of the token, but they also get a 4, 5, maybe even a 6% yield on that debt that they buy from the government. Now, usually it's 4%, okay? But if the government does an auction or whatever to, for people to buy bonds and stuff, American debt, and it doesn't go as planned, then they will also offer higher incentives. That's how that goes. But like I said, they sell you and me the principal. So let's say they took $100 million and they issued a stable coin. Sure, they sell me and you the stable coin and they get their $100 million. But what we don't get is the yield. You see, they keep the yield. They sell us the principal and they keep the yield. That's why it's important for you guys to stay to the end of this video, because I am giving you guys the ins and outs of how this system works. And once you know how this system works, you will give yourself the ability to make all the money that you want. So please, for your own sake, listen up. Now, the yield is something that they continue to get that yield. Now, me and you, we take that stable coin and we put it here, we put it there. And just like a dollar where it changes hands over and over and over and over and over again. But no matter where that stable coin goes, they will continue to get the yield. And that's why I always want you guys to stay to the end of the video, because everything that I do here is for your education and edification, because the more you understand, the more you learn, the more you can earn. So we're going to learn how to do that at the end of the video. Okay. Now, the Genius Act that was just passed by Donald Trump, you really had the bankers going against that, because the bankers were giving you zero point 0.3 to zero point 0.4, or maybe they might even go as high as 0.7. The key number, of course, being zero. You know, they literally give you nothing for placing your money with them, and they keep 3.99% of the yield that they are getting from the government or from you when they loan your money out over and over again. In other words, if you put $100 in the bank, they have to keep 10% of it, so they loan 90 on the 100, and then they loan 80 on the 90, then they loan 70 on the 80, and down and down and down, okay, until it gets all the way down to the last dollar. But they don't give you anything on that, so they've done made tens of thousands of dollars on your money, instantly as they loan it out, and they virtually give you nothing. So when these exchanges like Kraken, like Uphold, you know, started offering, Coinbase, and all of these other exchanges, when they started offering you yield and giving you, 4%, 5%, whatever, they had a heart attack and they basically lobbied the Congress for the Genius Act and everything, and they essentially won. You know, so these centralized exchanges. Notice I'm saying centralized, not decentralized. Okay, because this does not affect DeFi. This only affects centralized entities. Okay, keep that in mind. So let me just see where I'm at here. Okay, cool. So they keep the yield on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a couple of coins that we should be looking at. And in order to do that, let's just go over here to CoinGecko very quickly. I like to look at CoinGecko to get a lot of my information here. And one of the stable coins that you should have in your wallet, ladies and gentlemen, is the money stablecoin. Now, why am I, out of all of the coins, the stable coins that are issued, why did I go to the money coin first? I went to the money coin first because it is a very unique stable coin in that this stable coin, ladies and gentlemen, its value is not viewed in fiat, in the fiat system. This stable coin, it's issued on Ethereum, but it is primarily used on the original Bitcoin blockchain. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Its value is measured in Satoshis. So if the entire fiat system, went belly up, the money stablecoin, if you're using it on BSV, the original Bitcoin blockchain, you will still be able to use that stablecoin because it is not reliant upon the fiat system. It is reliant upon Satoshis, or the smallest units of measure within the Bitcoin ecosystem. Because when it comes to a Bitcoin, 100 million Satoshis makes up one full Bitcoin, ladies and gentlemen. And just so that you know, I just want to show you something a little amazing. Matter of fact, it's extremely amazing, but no one seems to be able to hear the sound of my voice when I say this. I think their frequency is getting jammed by the powers that should not be. But instead of trying to get BTC, and you can have exposure to it, sure. I'm not saying don't get BTC because there is money on the table. But you can get a full, actual, original Bitcoin protocol operating on Terranode technology and IPv6, which is future proof and quantum resistant, because there's no crypto in Bitcoin. You see, Bitcoin is not cryptocurrency. So therefore, you can't break the cryptography of a Bitcoin because there's no cryptography to break. There is no crypto in a Bitcoin. The only place cryptography shows up in Bitcoin is in the mining process of producing, or the getting of a Bitcoin. So the only thing a quantum computer can do to a Bitcoin is simply mine it a little faster. So they can produce them a little faster, but they can't destroy Bitcoin, and they can't crack its cryptography because there's no cryptography there to break. But yes, ladies and gentlemen, if you are operating on the proper frequency and you can hear the sound of my voice, and I'm not sitting here like Charlie Brown where you're actually hearing wah, 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 wah. If you can actually hear what I'm saying to you, if you are actually present, if you can actually comprehend the enormity of what I'm saying to you right now, is that you can get a full Bitcoin for less than takeout, for Chinese takeout, for less than a pizza. You can get a full Bitcoin right now for $16.73. 100 million Satoshis in your possession. And don't think of what that'll be worth today. Think of what that'll be worth in 5 years. Think of what that'll be worth when the flippening happens, when the original Bitcoin protocol actually goes into the place of this. You see, BTC is in the number one spot. But as I told you, BTC is not Bitcoin. But we're not here to discuss Bitcoin. We're actually here, but it's very painful for me to see people chasing BTC when the original Bitcoin protocol is getting away from them. But like I said, we're here to discuss money, which is the stable coin that is on the original Bitcoin blockchain measured in Satoshis. Now, there's another stable coin known as Ethena, okay, which also is not based upon fiat. Now, sure, you can off ramp your fiat and you can buy Ethena or USDE, which is the stable coin, and you can actually start to earn over here if you see 3.5% APY on that. But they offer you a yield by doing what they call delta neutral, and that's how you get the yield for that. But the average SUSDE APY is 11.5%, as it says here. Now, SUSD, of course, the S stands for state. Okay. So, and it's a very vast protocol. You can go and you look at that, and that's what you have there. Now, Okay, we're back. And this is where, of course, where in your wallet you will acquire the USDY. And on the next video, I will show you guys the exact process of me actually minting about $1,000 worth of USDY and acquiring the USST. Okay. And if we go over here to my portfolio, of course, we will see that I've got total yield to date. That's probably going to change in the secondary because I think it's a lot more. All right. And yeah, let me just see if I can get rid of that. Yeah, so actually yield to date, it's $19. And you see I've got some claimable yield down there because I went in and I put in, $54 here, $35 there, $15 there, $50 there. So I just kept hitting it. And eventually I got up to $1,000. And what I'll probably do is I'll probably throw in another $1,000 in one entity and then take that USST and dissolve these positions and then take that $1,000 of the real world asset that I get, which is the collateral that I provided, and then I will mint another $1,000 position just so that I will have a very strong position instead of having everything spread out like that. So I can actually go down here and I can actually claim this stuff, you know, the 43 cents, the 26 cents, the 40 cents, this, that, and the other. I just like to let that build up. I got $1.54 over here. I've got $3.88 over here. I got 62 cents there, you know. Now, what you can actually do with this, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if the wheels in your brain are turning right now, but you know what you can do with this? You can actually provide yourself a looping strategy. What do I mean by a looping strategy? Okay, check this scenario. You take $1,000, you put $1,000 in here with the USDY. You mint the USST. You sell the USST. You buy with the USST that you bought, that you minted, and you get more USDY. And then you mint that with another $1,000 position, and you get USST. Then you take the USST and you swap it out for USDY again, and then you mint another position. You see where I'm going with this? You can do this over and over and over and over because you're kind of using the same principle as a liquid staking token. Notice I said liquid staking token because if I say liquid staking derivative, people will start to short circuit. There's something about that word that drives people crazy. So I'm going to be nice and say liquid staking token. But anyway, you can loop this strategy over and over again, and you will continue to get yield on all of those positions. And this is exactly what I'm about to do in the next video, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to do some looping strategies, and we're going to get, maybe $10,000 or $20,000 up in here, and then continue to loop the strategy until we get, you know, a couple of 100,000, and then within the years to come, have a few $1,000,000 on the platform, earning yield on a couple of $1,000,000 here. All right. Now, before we go, there's more to this. If we go to MFS Live right here, which is 2.0, it says we are on Ethereum, so we're going to switch to the BNB or the Binance Smart Chain, ladies and gentlemen. And that's one thing I like about the Rabby wallet, because as soon as I click the button, the Rabby wallet that I'm using here automatically switched for me. Switch to that blockchain. Now, this is multi-factor staking, ladies and gentlemen. So what you can do is you can take your USST and you can also take the STBL coin, all right? And you can actually stake the STBL coin itself, or you can combine it with STBL and USST that you minted to create what we call an LP or a liquidity position. Okay. Now, once you do that, let me just show you with what the STBL is. Now the STBL, let me just go over here to info on my phone here. I'm just going to read you a quick synopsis of STBL. And right here it says about STBL. STBL is a decentralized non-custodial platform built to redefine stablecoin utility by combining yield, transparency, and real-world asset backing. At its core, STBL is a mechanism to mint stablecoins, namely UST and YLD, with unique advantages that stand out in the DeFi ecosystem: yield without staking, no lockups, and RWA powered growth, ladies and gentlemen. But this is the STBL token of the platform. So you can come in here and you can simply acquire, you could buy STBL off the market, of course, you know, and you can stake it in here. And you get to determine how long you want in here. So I've got a little bit of my wallet there. So let's say I took this. Now, if I did 3 days, I would get a 1x. If I did a lock duration of 7 days, I would get a 1.3x. If I did 14 days, it's 1.5x. If I did 30 days, it's a 1.7x, and so on and so forth. So basically, if you go up to 180 days here, that's going to be a 3x on your money. Okay, so basically 6 months. If you did 6 months, you're going to get a 3x on your money. All right. Now, what if we did STBL and USST, thus creating a liquidity position? All right. Now, mind you, you still got the yield accruing over in the other section we just left. But let's just say I got a teeny tiny bit in my wallet here. But let's say I went ahead and I staked some STBL and USST as a liquidity position. Now, here's the lock duration. As the reward period nears its end, the maximum lock time shortens to ensure your stake concludes before rewards expire. In other words, they have a built-in cooldown period, okay, if you know what that means. We do 7 days, we get a 2.49x. So you see the APRs, the multiplier is much higher than just staking STBL by itself. If you did 14 days, you're going to get 2.886% X multiplier. You do 30 days, you are going to get a 3.40X. If you did 60 days, you are going to get a 4.08X. If you did 90 days, you are going to get a 4.9. If you did 120 days, which is about 4 months, you're going to get a 5.2x, you see. So it's up to you, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, you don't need to deliberate about, oh, should I do 60 days? Should I do 120 days? Oh, should I do this? If that battle is in your mind, there's nothing wrong with just doing 7 days. You can always renew it 7 days later if you choose to do another 7 days or even 3 days, if I were you guys, I would actually lock it up for 3 or 7 days just so that you can, see success and, see a little extra. And if it gets good to you, say, hey, maybe I'll do 14 days, and do that, you know. But yeah, so this is a built-in powerhouse, ladies and gentlemen. This is a built-in powerhouse. It is basically yield on yield on yield on yield. As a matter of fact, you can even add another yield in there because let's say you took $10,000, you could actually go to Morpho or Moonwell or Aave, and you can give yourself a collateralized loan, take $10,000, loan yourself $9,000, then bring that over here and do everything that I just talked about. And then you can go back and you can earn the lending rate over there while you got that money doing this over here. So you're using the same amount of money in 2 or 3 different places. That's yield on yield on yield, ladies and gentlemen. So you see, this is you living your life permissionless. This is you giving yourself the ability to make all the money that you want. And basically, it's nobody's business, saying what it is that you're doing, because you don't need anybody's permission to take control of your financial destiny, ladies and gentlemen. So with that, no one understand that AI is here, and I told you guys before, the perfect user for blockchain technology isn't even human beings, it's AI. And the perfect user for AI also is not human beings, it's AI agents, ladies and gentlemen. And that's what, of course, that is a very tremendous and important part of my portfolio, as well as it should be yours, because very soon there won't be any lawyers. You'll have your lawyer in your phone, you know speaking on your behalf. There'll be no judge. I just saw a movie the other day where a guy got accused of unaliving someone, and the judge was an AI agent. you know Doctors, people that work for janitors. You already got the little robots cleaning your floor. So as more and AI takes more and more jobs, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm talking about ordinary people: doctors, lawyers, janitors, burger flippers at your local Burger King. you know as all of these jobs disappear, you are going to need to have your own way of making your own money as you see fit. And you should be making money while you're asleep anyway. You should be making money every second of every minute of every day, of every month, of every year, ladies and gentlemen. So this is what we are learning to do with our multiple income streams, okay, and self custody. I just saw a celebrity who got robbed by his broker or lawyer or whatever, and the guy ran off to the Cayman Islands with millions of dollars of his money, thus sending this celebrity into the poorhouse, ladies and gentlemen. But if you have self custody, you don't have to worry about somebody running off to the Cayman Islands with your money, because they don't have possession of your money, because you did not give it to them, because you have self custody. That's what this is all about. This is about you being your own bank, you being your own international monetary exchange, because you can switch into any form of money that you want, from the euro to the yen to the dollar to the stablecoin to Bitcoin to the Chilean peso if you chose to, as well as being your own hedge fund. You see, you have the entirety of the global market at your fingertips. This has never been possible before. We were always gate kept out. We were always kept out. Now that the technology is here, no one can keep you out, ladies and gentlemen. They can ban Bitcoin all they want, but I'll let you know a little secret. They cannot ban Bitcoin. They can only ban themselves from Bitcoin, because it cannot be stopped. And this is the whole reason why in 2017, Greg Maxwell came up with a fake Bitcoin along with Jack Dorsey, that they deceived the world with, that they are now calling BTC, and everybody thinks that's Bitcoin. I assure you it is not, and I can prove it. Anyway, you already know, ladies and gentlemen, we have done what we came here to do. And no one understand, I am not your financial advisor, of course, but I do have some good suggestions, and I invite you guys to use me as a template. Go down in the description below. Get these, Kinesis Money, Uphold, Kraken, use my referral link so you have safe passage through the crypto space, because these hackers are playing. And we are going to continue, ladies and gentlemen, as always, to go on ahead and get this crypto.